Hello, Screen Junkies Universe. This is the show Screen Junkies Universe, where we talk to you, the Screen Junkies Universe. This is a pre-tape that we shot. Go back and watch previous episodes and match the wardrobe so that you can figure out what day we shot this.
Roxy looks different. You changed.
You had a rough.
I put on a couple pounds, Spencer. That's really
Sorry, I shouldn't have called it out.
Something that you should have
You
brought
had
up.
a rough 15 minutes between shooting. Jeez.
Guys, I cut my hair. Jeez. All right.
It's just a haircut. You wanted to go pixie, I understand. You pulled it off. Dan Merle, Joe Starr, Spencer Gilbert, Billy Business.
Yep.
Story number one. Sorry, I've always wanted a McLaughlin group this show.
I know, right?
Story number one. Worst movies of 2018. Mariner 3S. What's the worst movie you saw this year? Dan!
It's hard to narrow it down to one. I mean,
yeah. So
I watch a lot of movies.
let's broaden it.
Some real
I
stinkers.
watch a lot of bad movies.
Yeah.
I don't. Should I just list them all or just pick a few? What do you think?
Pick. Start with one. We'll all go.
Truth or Dare.
Okay.
Was a terrible movie. It's a Blumhouse film. Came out early this year. Not very good. I cut horror movies a little more of a break than a lot of people do, just because even though if it's at all worth it for me to sit through a horror movie, then I'll tend to be like, whatever, it's fine. I really did not like Truth or Dare. It was so stupid. It was really, really terrible and dumb, and I hated it. And I had kind of hopes for it because it was after Happy Death Day, which I really liked from Blumhouse, and then this was just bad.
Meh.
Really bad movie. Unfriended Dark Web is another Blumhouse movie that I watched that is just stupid, which sucks because Searching, which is the same thing, it's like the Screen Life thing where you're looking at someone's desktop, was like a great movie that I really loved, and then this movie was so stupid.
How dark was the dark web in this movie?
It was so dark. You wouldn't even believe it. It was so dumb. I hated that movie. It was really bad.
It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
Spencer?
It's a hard-hitting analysis people come here for. Look, Gotti's the obvious answer, and yet I really enjoyed watching Gotti.
Yeah, right?
It was really fun. I would definitely throw that on as like a midnight movie or do that in like a room style watch along. So much that was just interesting to look at in Guy. So that's off my worst of the year list. Although it is like technically the worst movie.
Yes, it is the correct answer, but whatever.
It is.
To me, it's like the so middling generic movies that are my least favorites. Because I like big swings, and if you miss, you miss, and if you hit it out of the park, that's great. So probably something like Rampage or like a Pacific Rim Uprising where it's just like, here's the beats, here's the numbers.
You know what they are.
You know exactly what they are. Like, you can be half asleep and nothing is going to shock you out of it. Then the movie's over. Like, I know it's not nice to call that the worst because they're technically proficient and they're not horribly made, but like they're just
And
so...
the ghost of Gotti doesn't open them.
The ghost of John Gotti does not say greatest city in the world to open any of them. So that's just a personal worst way I think of it is the ones that got the least of a rise out of me, good or bad.
I mean, I think all five of us in the room here liked some part of watching Gotti. Me, Joe, Spencer, Billy, JTE,
and Staten Island.
Tommy Big Chin.
Together we make a fist.
Chains McGee.
But Gotti does not transcend. It is obviously on my worst list.
Yeah. But
but it's personal. It's literally personal though, with me and Gotti. So maybe I'm biased. Like, I've never been in a personal argument with a film before, but I'm impossible to say. I did not have a fun time watching Gotti. At all.
Because you had to go to war with it first.
Well, I didn't know. This is after. Was it? No. You're right. I went to war with it and then I went to see it.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. Maybe I'm too close.
Yeah. You're just too close. We gotta pull you out of there, man.
I think I'm out.
He pulls me back in. It says something to how time travels for me now, like in this job, that I thought your argument with Gotti was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I actually
that was 2018.
That was 2018.
Yeah.
Oh God, Billy, what you got?
For me, I think the worst movie I saw, like just so irresponsibly made. Like, how did this get money spent on it? Was Melissa McCarthy's Life of the Party. Ooh. It's if you are an aspiring screenwriter, especially if you have an emphasis like I really want to do comedy, I actually urge you to watch this movie because this is literally everything that you should not do. They looked at the tropes and they're like, I'm going to take the left when most films take the right. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. It doesn't even work as a
Sometimes
series.
they're tropes for a reason.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense as a series of vignettes. Characters change on a dime. Motivations are dropped. There's no story, really. It's literally one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I caught about half of that on a plane and turned it off.
Yeah, it's just mind-bogglingly incompetent. I don't
Formless,
understand it.
no through line.
yeah.
We don't agree on much, Billy.
Right.
But we agree on this. I like when that was over. Like if you ever wanted the answer to the question, what does being a big star buy you in Hollywood? The answer is Life of the Party, because no one else would get that script made. Melissa McCarthy did because she's famous. And she was like, I want to make another movie with my husband. We like making movies together, and here's the movie we want to make. And they were like, okay.
All right.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's
not
really
even
bad.
doesn't
We can
even
sell
come
it to
off-
airplanes.
It doesn't even feel like a first draft. It feels like the pitch meetings. Like they literally just took the blackboard that they had everything written on.
Yeah.
They're like, make this. Like it's a bunch of ideas that don't mean anything.
Yeah, it's comedy
terrible.
has to work first as drama, and then you add jokes and make it funny. And from the first half, and after I was like, I'm gonna see what else is on this airplane. It was just not hanging together.
it's
So
bad.
good
You
call.
just, you just go straight to the map that shows your progress until you land.
How close are we?
How close are we? I agree with you, Spencer. There's like clear answers. It's like in movie fights sometimes where it's like, yes, I know that Hermione is the greatest wizard probably, but I don't want to talk about her because I know that answer. It's Gotti. It's probably Gotti. It's probably like 50 Shades Freed or something
Ooh,
like that.
yeah.
I had a ton of fun at 50 Shades Freed. I'm not
Really?
Gonna lie.
Okay,
That wasn't
there we
as
go.
bad as the second one
It's
for me.
probably my favorite movie-going experience that I've had in years.
They all blend together.
I
This-
went
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day, and I was the only male in the theater, and you would think that it was like Infinity War the way these girls were responding to this movie. It was the most fun I've
Still?
had. Yeah.
That's the third one. I get it for the first one because I saw the first
Wow.
one on Valentine's Day, and it was like, well, the biggest pop was for Magic Mike XXL, but the people were literally breaking out fans and fanning themselves. But I figured that they must have been worn down by the plot.
third
I mean,
one?
I guess it's like asking my wife. She could go to Infinity War and be like, "The third Avengers? Still?
Yeah.
You're still clapping when Thor shows up?"
Fair enough.
True.
Yeah, but when that ice cream went to the nether
Oh,
regions,
God.
it was.
The funny thing is, you then go home and you're like, does this mean we're going to do ice cream stuff? And they're like, no, that's
No,
disgusting.
When
It's
Jamie
not an infection. It's dairy.
when Jamie Dornan sat down on the piano and started singing Paul
Paul
McCartney, that's when I was like, I can't put this on my worst of list because I will never forget this moment as long as
the
I
helicopter
live.
crash that he like.
No, that was the
two.
second one.
Okay,
Two
then I've
is
forgotten
way
three.
worse.
That's Shade Strike Back.
Yeah.
3 is awful, but two is atrociously bad. So was the first one, but 3 is like, it's almost the full turn to camp.
Yeah,
There's
it's like with the
barely any
kidnapping.
sex in it.
Okay.
It's all just about like
There's bat shark
it's,
repellent.
it's a full Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's awful. Trust me, but it's like I don't know.
I'm gonna throw first one I want to talk about. I want not to dogpile on poor Melissa McCarthy because I think she's an incredibly talented, funny woman. Spy's fantastic. I think she's great, but Happy Time Murders
I didn't see it.
was.
Yeah, I missed that one.
I really
Not
wanted
good.
to.
Here's the key.
The trailer sold me, and then everyone said it was horrible.
That was
so
the
I
only
didn't
joke.
follow
That was
up.
the only joke in the movie, and it wasn't funny because you'd already seen it.
The frustrating thing to me is that we've I don't know. It's like we've lost some big chunk of comedy history where you look at a movie, you look at this kind of concept, and you're like, the only way to play this is absolutely straight. And the funny part comes from just the fact that they're puppets, a Leslie Nielsen, we're accepting this reality. Let the comedy come from the puppets and the weirdness, but everyone else plays at full stakes and isn't like over the top nuts. And that's what they do with Happy Time Murders is that like you have the weirdness of the puppets, but then you also have like the weirdness of Melissa McCarthy just like acting like a cartoon character. And it's two different movies almost, and they don't like fit together. Like you have her separate wacky cop movie. Like, it's almost her doing like a Ron Burgundy on top of, then you also have this movie that just was supposed to be a cop movie that happened to have puppets in it, and that's why it's funny.
Weird.
And it just doesn't work. And it seems like a basic comedy thing to me, like a basic, like, they look through the page and they're like, yeah, okay, we're all very competent, funny people, and here's why this won't work, and here's why we need to sort of adjust it. But yeah, it frustrated me. But I do agree with you, Spencer, sort of on the, like, here's what could have been a big swing, but we just sort of like gave you whatever. We didn't like reheat
I did forget one that was a big swing that was terrible that I recommend everyone watch because it's also just crazy. Is Mute.
Oh, you were obsessed
Yeah.
with Mute for a while on Netflix.
Mute's something. Mute is proof that Netflix does not give notes. 'Cause this one,
I should put that on the. Well, there's no poster,
Netflix.
but
yeah,
We don't give notes.
We're not going to get in your way
We just
at
cancel
all.
you.
Like whatever your first idea is, that's fine. Because it is a space Amish revenge movie, and
Perfect.
And it talk about like played straight and morose. It's like Drive. If he was a space Amish. So if that sounds cool to you, also with like less action, much less action than Drive.
Okay.
So
which Drive was not exactly a thrill.
Right. So it was one of the worst movies, which is disappointing because he's a really still interesting filmmaker. But man, what a whiff.
Yeah. Well,
Yikes.
I'm tired of talking about how much I hate Solo, so I'm going to talk about Jurassic World. There's just something very like to those Michael Bay levels of cynicism where it's like Transformers levels of cynicism where it's like, whatever, it's bright colors and you like dinosaurs, you'll see it. Fuck
And
you.
we did.
You know,
And
like,
we proved
yeah.
them right.
Yes.
Yeah, and we absolutely proved
Lesson
them right.
not
It makes
learned.
me sad.
I like that one.
God,
You know what it was?
get out of my bar.
You know what it was? I think I was just so tired of being on an island that I was like, all right, dinosaur in a house.
Wait, let me hit the
No.
pause. You liked the movie because you had been stranded on an island, and it's the first thing you saw after you had gotten off an island?
Yes.
He was,
Or you were
that
just-
makes sense. If you were
I'm
tired-
actually Oliver Queen. I am Groot Narrow. And the first thing I did was watch Fallen Kingdom. I was like,
boy.
finally, no more islands.
Blue, you have failed
I can
this
understand
trainer.
liking it if you were someone who had been stranded on islands and just had a visceral negative reaction to island movies.
I wish you had told us about this, Billy. How long were you on that island?
It's just
I feel bad we didn't notice.
too long. That's why I'm covering the scars.
How's your skills with a bow?
I'm pretty good.
Proficient? Okay,
Yeah,
very
I'm,
cool.
yeah,
Right on.
3 out of 5.
Nice.
Speaking of archery, we need to talk about Robin Hood.
Okay. Ooh,
haven't gotten to see it yet.
Oh my God, is it terrible? It is. It almost is. It almost is the Gotti for me, as far as like so bad I can't put it on my. But it is atrocious. It is everything you could name a way that you can do a modern Robin Hood and it can go bad, and this movie does it.
So wait, I'm confused. I think I've seen like a trailer, like walking in and out to get popcorn of
Yeah.
this movie.
It's Eggsy,
is it
right?
current day?
No,
or is
it's set back in the day, but it's like kind of current day clothes, and they call him Rob, and and
Rob
like
Hood?
and like he goes to war, but it's bow and arrow times, but like they go around corners like this, so it's shot like
Cover
it's
your
shot like
six.
0 Dark 30 like this,
God.
but they just have their arrows drawn, and then there's a guy who has like a machine gun metal arrow thing that just
Yes.
shoots arrows like bah, 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 and things are exploding. It is a shameless
I don't know. This sounds so bad. It's good.
shameless ripoff of the Dark Knight trilogy, down to the music, down to the dialogue, down to the villain and the way that they make the villain. You think you're watching a movie and then they set it up for a franchise at the end. Poor Jamie Dornan. That's all I have to say. He's had a truly horrific year at the movies. It is everything. Every mistake you thought Hollywood had learned from is on display in Robin Hood.
Well, I like.
Don't they go to Sherwood at the very end and they're like, that forest looks good?
Hey, spoilers. I did like A Knight's Tale. Remember when they're doing like "We Will Rock You" before
Right.
the jousts and stuff like that? So
But
I have a
that's
soft
like-
spot for that. And then you liked King Arthur, Guy Ritchie's King Arthur.
I won't
right?
say I
Ooh,
liked.
yikes.
Hang on.
I always liked
Hang on.
Baz Luhrmann's William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet. And
Yeah.
that
Well,
kind of had the
but that
same
was
thing.
actually set in the modern day.
Right.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, I guess
this
you're
is
right,
set in feudal times, but not.
I think with Knight's Tale, there's like just like an extra like layer of just contemporary weirdness that they put on it, which I think kind of works for it. And I don't like the King Arthur movie, but I have an affliction where
I have an Affliction T-shirt where
an Affliction
I wear
T-shirt
it to see movies like
to
King
watch
Arthur,
King Arthur,
and I chug brews.
While I watch Bellator.
If any King Arthur movie is on, any King Arthur movie,
Yep.
I'm including the weird Clive Owen one.
Kid in King Arthur's
this
Court?
one, Kid in King Arthur's Court,
All right.
The First Night, starring Sean Connery and Richard Gere.
Sword in the Stone.
Sword in the Stone.
The
Any
Arthur
King Arthur movie,
cartoons with the anteater.
I will stop.
Aardvark?
And it'll be the same next year. I think the trailer you saw was the next year. There's like a kid King Arthur movie where a kid finds Excalibur in modern day.
Russell Brand's Arthur remake.
Yes.
Dudley Moore's
all of those.
original Arthur.
If there's a character named Arthur in it, I will sit and watch it.
All right.
In its entirety.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know. I
There you
don't
go.
know what draws me to it. I'm on
You love
my own.
Arthurian. You love round tables.
I'm on the saddest Grail quest.
What did you think of The Last Night then? It's everything you loved and hated simultaneously. Transformers: The Last Night.
Oh God, yeah.
Stanley Tucci's Merlin, one for the ages.
Is that
Look.
the paradox in the middle of your likes and dislikes?
Look, I'm Galahad the Pure, and I will continue to stand for King
Yeah,
Arthur no matter how
That's,
twisted it
that's
gets.
like the middle of your Joe Venn diagram.
Yeah,
Wow.
that should have been the perfect movie for you.
Yeah.
And instead, it just stabbed me.
That's like
over
if
and
Batman
over and
fought
over and
Kiss
over.
for me. That would be like the best movie ever
Hasn't
made.
he? Hasn't there been a comic
Surely.
where Batman fought Kiss?
At this
Batman
point,
and Kiss have met up.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm gonna ask this question while I fight off this sneeze. Another solo asked. It's not here yet. What's happening? Another
into the
solo
lights.
asked. What's the weirdest movie you've ever seen, good or bad?
Wow.
There was one I watched in college. It's called Reflections of Evil, and it's a weird. It's like this woman takes PCP and dies, and then she comes back and she's looking for her overweight brother who's a watch salesman at a carnival. It's like
What?
4 or 5 different drugs ingested all at one time as
Wow.
a movie.
Mine is also a movie where someone takes DMT and then dies and gets reincarnated. that's a weird coincidence. Yeah, mine's called Enter the Void. Which is like a largely shot from first-person perspective film. Like you're in the guy's head, and he smokes DMT, dies, and then is reincarnated and has to like rescue his sister from something. But it's just basically really trippy visuals. It's shot like Hardcore Henry, like it's a disorienting perspective, and then just the subject matter is very French. So I do recommend checking it out, like the trailer, or it has one of my favorite title sequences of any movie. Like it's visually really interesting, and it just doesn't really hang together plot wise. It's a very disorienting experience.
But worth watching just for the weirdness.
I'd say so. Yeah.
I think on the box of Reflection for Evil, it was like a Henry Rollins quote. He's like, "This is the most fucked up shit I've ever seen in my life." Like that was the box quote.
Wow. What the hell, Roger Ebert?
What? I'm gonna go with. There's a couple of animated features that you should see if you're a fan of animation. You haven't seen them, but also if you're just a fan of just weird stuff. Wizards. If you've never seen Wizards, it's a weird '70s Ralph Bakshi.
Oh, that shit creeps me out.
Crazy. Yeah, it's like a weird Nazi Germany allegory, but it's very strange.
Does it have like the rotoscoping stuff?
A little bit, yeah. It's like kind of
for some reason that creeps me out a lot.
And in that vein, Fire and Ice is another one that you should watch. And then the king of all the weird ones is Rock and Roll, which is a post-apocalyptic rock opera
Nice.
from I think it's from 78, 79. And it's absolutely nuts. The songs are actually pretty good, and it's just the weirdest damn thing I've ever seen. Dan?
The Lobster is a very weird movie that I liked a lot.
Yeah.
The Book of Henry is a super weird movie that I didn't like a lot. That's probably one of the weirdest movies I've seen in the recent past. Like just everything going on with that movie. Like, what happened? How did that movie happen? None of it. It's bizarre. I saw 2 super weird movies this year, both of which I enjoyed. Sorry to bother you. which is definitely the weirdest movie I saw this year. And the other movie that would have been the weirdest movie if it weren't for Sorry to Bother You was Mandy.
Oh, yeah,
Which is super
Mandy's
weird.
crazy.
It is super weird and trippy and crazy, and you'll either like it or you won't. But it is man. Maybe that is the weirdest movie I saw this year, because I can at least explain to you the basics of Sorry to Bother You, even if they're a little out there. Mandy is just I've never taken acid, but if I had, I think it would be that movie.
Yeah, Mandy's just crazy.
Mandy is insane.
Yeah.
It is absolutely insane.
Dan asked, not this Dan,
What?
a fan Dan, asked, what is a movie you would like to see again for the first time? Maybe it's a movie you loved from the first viewing, you want to experience that joy again. Maybe years later, your perspective has changed on any number of factors since the original viewing. You're curious how you would feel about said movie with the new perspective. What is a movie you would like to see again for the first time?
I feel like we've been asked this before, but I have no idea what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
Then why'd you ask it again, Dan?
Yeah,
I wasn't happy with my answer last time.
oh, Dan.
I will say Alien 1, because I saw it for the first time and got so scared I had to put it on mute. It was like too intense, so I'd like to do it properly and just stick with it throughout the whole thing. Maybe on a big screen, that'd be even better. If I could like see that in theaters or something for the first time, because that
would be cool.
One of my favorite movies ever made, and it really got me the first time.
Right on. I'm still working on mine, Billy.
I would say for the first time, Jurassic Park. I was only 6
pick.
when it came out, so I was too young to go see it in theaters. So the first time I saw it was VHS. Now, I've obviously seen it on the big screen since, but I feel like for a first time, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. That's one that I really wish I could have had that first memory be the theater.
Yeah.
But it was still awesome, like on VHS. I didn't know any better, but
I'm going to go with, this is the one that keeps popping in my head. For whatever reason, I'm going to go with The Fifth Element. That was such a fun theatrical experience, just sitting there and being like, what is happening? Like, but loving like every single little beat of it. It's just for a kid who's the extent of my sci-fi fandom at the time was either just watching Star Wars over and over and over again, or The Matrix, and like I was good with those. And so my dad taking me to see The Fifth Element, this like wholly just original, weird, bizarre thing, was just an awesome sort of like feast for my little like nerd brain.
Yeah,
just like,
but
there's
not
a
that-
tall opera singer, and
Look, it's your choice, and I respect your choices. I do think for me that movie is better on the second, third, fourth time, because so much
agree.
of my enjoyment of that is like rewatching, noticing all the weird details
Picking
and
things
like the
up
weird
and-
little, just the care that goes into like even the weirdest or furthest away background extra in Alien and
you're
stuff
not
like
wrong.
that.
That's the challenging thing about this question is like, there's so many movies that sure maybe if I could sort of reset and see them for the first time, that would be neat. But there's also so many that I've come to appreciate more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Just after like infinite screenings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Shaun of the Dead, obviously, it's one of my favorites, and there's nothing like seeing a great comedy for the first time.
Sure.
Casablanca, which I love, and I remember thinking, like, you think you know Casablanca, but it's great to
Right.
hear about a movie that's good, and then you watch it, and it's better than you had thought that it was, But Psycho, because I feel like
It's a good
Psycho
pick.
was one of those things that was in the zeitgeist where, like, you think you know what it is, and then you watch it and you realize that you really don't know. The first time I saw it, I remember I was at my grandmother's house, and it was literally, this doesn't happen anymore, but it was, literally like we now return to the midnight movie, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. I was like, okay, sure. It was like late at night, and just like getting sucked into that movie and realizing that like there's a whole movie after the Janet Leigh thing that you don't know about, that no one ever talks about. Like, the shower scene in Psycho, and maybe the reveal at the end, and that's it. And I remember the first time when she comes out and the detective is in the house and comes out like on the stairs and walks out. I'm just like, what? I like climb the wall. Like, you don't realize like that's actually a great movie. And so it's fun to discover a movie that you think you know what it is, but it's actually not at all. There's so much more to it.
Well,
that
that
you
would have
don't
been
know.
by far the best movie for me to see unspoiled, just because it's so much of like the zeitgeist. Like everyone's seen the shower scene in this day and age before you've seen Psycho, and the reveal. So for those to be true surprises before I saw it for the first time would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But even the shower scene, out of context.
Yeah.
Like people have seen that Janet Leigh thing, 100 times.
I've seen it. I saw it in parody movies before I saw
Right.
the movie.
But then when you get into the movie and you actually see like the context behind it and the fact that they build up her entire story, and it's like it's tragic. It's not just a slasher thing. It's like this lady that made a mistake and she's going to go back and she's going to fix it and make things right, and she's just dead.
Yeah.
And it's about Norman.
We still have
this movie's about
45
Norman.
minutes left.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. I Blame Gravity asked, I have gone, this is a good segue into you saying the Midnight Movie will now continue. I Blame Gravity asked, I have gone full streaming and embraced the inevitable demise of cable television, but there's still a big part of me that will seriously miss the art of channel flipping and finding those late night nuggets. I've stumbled across many great or strange indie films, old black and whites, and even silent films at 2 a.m. Are there any obscure late night finds that you really remembered and enjoyed? The first thing that pops into my head is Joe Bob Briggs on TNT. He hosted like the late night like crappy monster movie of the week, and it was just interstitials with this guy. Hey, it's me, Joe Bob Briggs. Like, come on, and he just had this weird little like. He had on a cowboy hat, and he'd make some jokes and introduce the movie. I always watched Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cable was never channel flipping was never my go-to for movies. Like, I guess I miss, being employed and being older, so I miss out on daytime television, which I think is really weird and fascinating. And then like late night infomercials, I kind of miss of like. I used to watch a lot of Knife Show. Where it's
This here is the Goblin Master 3000. It comes with a display case and 4 retractable blades.
Yeah, the weirdest stuff always happened on late night, like fat freezing and like light scanning devices. It was just so strange. But I won't miss that. If I want to watch a movie, I'll rent a movie or stream it. No great loss there.
No great loss for you. Billy, did you have any channel flipping memories?
Yeah. Look, I'm sure it's not a great movie in hindsight, but I really love it. It was like a late night, and I stumbled upon. I was like, wait, what is this movie where Robert De Niro's like a knife guy and Wesley Snipes is baseball player? It's called The Fan.
Yeah.
I forgot about loved The Fan. Like, I was like, what is this? Bobby! Yeah, it's a great. And what's his face? Benicio del Toro is like another baseball player that he murders. It's great. I loved it. But that was just like a late night, and it was on like
That's how you
Channel
found it.
13 or something.
That does remind me of a late night one that I did see on TV first, which is Virtuosity. A heavily
I
edited,
love Virtuosity.
version of Virtuosity of Russell Crowe and Denzel, I think.
Yeah.
Chasing each other through the 90s.
He's Russell Crowe's like a serial
virus.
killer that
Yeah.
they made from like it's like a computer AI thing that turns real somehow. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
remember
like,
how.
and I just remember it's the dumbest things of like, there's a smiley like emoticon, and it's like, look this way, it's a smiling face. Like that was like the level of clues they were uncovering. So that's a gem.
About that movie.
I had an afternoon find. Let's stick with Hitchcock. A lot of my Hitchcock stuff was it was on Turner Classic Movies at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I've been watching something else. It's a movie called Shadow of a Doubt, which you haven't seen. It's amazing. But it was one of those things that was just on, and I was like, whatever, I'll leave it on. It's Alfred Hitchcock. I haven't seen it. If it's boring, I'll turn it off. And it stars Joseph Cotton, and he's like, he comes to town, and he's like Uncle Charlie, and he comes to like stay, but like they suspect that he might be a murderer, but they're not sure. And it's about his niece like trying to figure out like, is he just kind of weird, or is he like a serial killer? And it is like the most suspenseful thing. Like I remember I was like completely sucked into it by the end of it, and it was just the byproduct of the channel was on, and I just left it there. And it's not this. It's probably not the kind of movie that I would, if I were on Netflix, that I'd be like, I'm gonna watch this Alfred Hitchcock movie I've never heard of. It'd be.
It's that like couple of seconds of like seeing it and pausing and going, okay,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
To sort of continue the Hitchcock level of quality of this dialogue. Ski School 1 and 2
Oh wow.
are movies I was obsessed with in middle school. because they would just be on when you were channel flipping. They were the king of the like. They weren't even 80s. They were like early 90s. They were like
late 80s, early 90s.
They were like the last.
Well, I get confused because I'm a ski patrol man.
Okay, you're a ski patrol man. A lot of people are meatballs, folks.
We got a clap from the booth.
Clap from the booth. But yeah, it's one of those. It is a very specific genre that doesn't exist anymore. The skiing, screwball comedy, and boobies movie.
Yeah, it's like if Caddyshack worked for golf, like what other recreational half sports can we make this movie out of?
It starred a guy that was like a dollar store Jeremy Piven.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now, but
from Ski School.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is that guy? He looked like Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah.
He actually looked like
everyone did back then.
Yeah, him come to life. But yeah, a douchebag's dad owns the mountain, and I'm gonna get you guys out of here.
The big race.
And here comes the big race. And
the same guy from summer school.
Wow. Was summer school connected to the ski schooliverse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he go to different schools?
Also related to the police academy. So it was a whole educational system.
Whole educational, funny screwball comedy boobies genre, which I really like. One thing I was thinking about with this question is I miss the fine art, and it's for mixtapes when you tape from the radio too when you were a kid, but I also miss the fine art of taping movies from TV. Like if I watch Big Trouble in Little China now, for a long time the only way I owned it was my dad taped it on Big 58, Channel 10, the Sunday afternoon movie, and I still remember, if I watch it now, I still remember all the channel breaks are, and I can still hear the lady being like, Kurt Russell's here to rescue girls with green eyes from an evil wizard. Big Trouble in Little China. And yeah, it
was like Tim Burton's Batman. It was like an NBC telecast that I had the tape of, and that's what I wore out. But,
Every time I watch The Wizard of Oz, when they leave the throne room and the wizard goes, "Now go!" and the Cowardly Lion runs out and jumps out the window, I wait for it to fade to black because they used to run Wizard of Oz on CBS. That's how I had it. And every time he jumps out the window, I'm like, and go to commercial. Yeah. There's some Ferris Bueller is one like that too. Like, I remember when Genie goes like, "Screw him," commercial.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Obviously. I remember. That's how I had both Hot Shots movies. Mm-hmm. I taped them from TV. They're not quite as good on the TV edit necessarily. My dad was really proud because he finally had all of the police academies on tape, and they were very properly laid. Oh, he had a whole as DVDs were coming in. My dad was like, "I've got a great idea. We're gonna make this incredible alphabetized system of videotapes of movies I've taped from TV." And it was like, yeah, man, this is right on time. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it.
I had that. Yeah, I used to have all West Wing. I had the entire 47 tapes of all Bravo episodes of the West Wing, and then it was all rendered moot.
VHS, so you guys. Well, this was a show. Everybody feel good?
Yeah, I feel like we made some content.
Yeah, this is a show that we made on a day. I don't know when this is going to air.
Hopefully a Friday.
We're on vacation.
Oh, definitely a Friday.
Definitely a fan Friday.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully it's because we're with our families and not homeless in the streets because they've turned off everything in this room and noticed that we're still squatting. So
happy 14th, 21st, or 28th.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see you on the following date when we would naturally be back following the air date of this. Bye, guys.